Hey everyone, I'm Mary Beth McAndrews from Dread Central, and I am here today with some of the incredible team behind the new movie Accursed. I'm here today with director Kevin Lewis, stars Sarah Gray and Mena Suvari, and composer Emoi. Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Hi.
So my first question, I'm going to direct at Kevin, super basic, but can you just tell viewers who maybe not aren't familiar what the film is about?
So the film's about, well, the main theme to me is always the sins of the mothers are revisited on their daughters. And the idea is that a young nurse, played by Sarah, she gets a phone call basically to go to this cabin to take care of this older woman, to be a caretaker. And you find out, and that's played by Meg Foster. And then you find out basically that there's more that meets the eye to that it was pretty much an elaborate kind of scheme to get her, because there's past history with all the characters involved. So I don't want to give too much away, but that's kind of the gist of it.
Awesome. And so Sarah, I want to ask you first, what attracted you to being a part of this project?
Yeah, so I got the script and it was just like a classic horror film. I'm a fan of the genre, and I saw that Kevin Lewis was directing, and I was already a fan of him. I'd seen Willy's Wonderland, so it was just kind of like an easy yes.
Sweet. And then Mena, what about you? What attracted you to being a part of this project? Especially because you have some pretty awesome parts, which we'll talk about later towards the end. But
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. I was a huge fan. I've been a huge fan of the genre my whole life. I guess I also was pretty struck by Alma and some of the things that she ends up committing on this path of hers. And so I think that was something that was kind of exciting and new for me to think about doing.
yeah. And then Emoi, I know that you worked with Kevin previously on Willy's Wonderland, which is a very different movie than The Accursed. So how did you kind of get involved? And then what was that like, making music for a very different movie, but with the same director?
Well, yeah, Kevin and I came off of Willy's Wonderland, and he called me up and he said, dude, I've got this script. I need you to read the first 8 pages and I need you to call me right back. I said, okay. So he sent me the script. I read the first 8 pages. I called him back. I go, oh my gosh, dude. Oh my gosh. I know. He goes, I'm going to keep reading. You keep reading. Let's talk in a little bit. I said, all right. So we both read the script simultaneously, separately. And then, right when we were done, we jumped on the phone and we're just like, we have got to do this movie. We have got to do it, because it is a classic horror film in a lot of senses, but it's also so unique as well. I don't think I've ever read anything quite like The Accursed. It has a lot of unique aspects to it. And again, it has that extra layer because it delves into these deep psychological issues that I think we can all relate to in a certain way. So anyway, it was great. And then as far as the music is concerned, we just, Kevin was awesome because he kept me in the loop the whole way through. So he's sending me storyboards, he's sending me artwork, he's sending me all kinds of stuff, rough cuts, everything. And so I felt like we really got to brainstorm this together from the inception. So when it came down to actually doing the music, there was very little guesswork left. We were just in simpatico on it a lot of the way. And, I bought a bunch of rare instruments and things, and I would record it and then I would send it to him. He's like, dude, I love it.
Wait, what kinds of instruments?
I got some really cool, like, water phones from Italy and some other handmade instruments. They don't really have names. They're kind of like, just weird things, like people would take a cymbal and cut it into a shape and, paste it onto a empty, wood box and put a pickup in it, and you play it with a violin bow and it just creates this crazy, ominous, sound. Just things like that we just kind of kept going back and forth. And it was the most fun I've had working on a project, was doing this music with Kevin. It was awesome.
That's amazing.
Mary, he also wanted to say that Emoi did the song You Are My Baby before we shot, because I had to have that on set. And he also did the main theme. And he played the main theme for me. He's like, I don't know if this is too much or whatever. I'm like, oh my God, it's perfect. So like I was like, jumping on that and getting inspired by that. And I played Mena and Sarah. I remember sending them the song way before we were in shooting. so they would get like into it, you know. And so it was just awesome to have him in pre-production already working and getting stuff going, because it was just shorthand with the actors as well to say, here's the song, tell me what you think, you know, and things like that. So it was wonderful.
Yeah, Sarah, what was your reaction upon hearing that song for the first time?
I just thought this is perfect. It was, oh my gosh, it was so haunting, and I just played it over and over because I had to know it pretty well.
Yeah.
But I thought it was so good.
And then Mena, what about you?
Very creepy. Very creepy. I mean, it's always like daunting when I ever think about singing. We talked about that.
Yeah. Mena did an amazing job. So did Sarah. Both of you have unbelievable pitch, right, Kevin? I mean, it was crazy. Kevin sent me the acapella track of Mena singing the song, and it was crazy. I was like, wait, do I have a preset on or something? Like, why is the, you know? And Sarah humming it in the kitchen and in the, you know, the couple times that Sarah's humming it. Just you guys are amazing. I'm guessing you're both vocally trained somehow, but I don't know. No?
No, not at all. No, but I mean, the writing is so beautiful, you know, throughout all of this. And I mean, especially with that song, it's just so haunting, so creepy. I think for me, I just felt really safe, you know, on set, but I just felt really disturbed about like the things that I had to do and what people are going to think about, you know.
I was going to ask about that. So we won't spoil anything, obviously, but your character goes to some pretty awful spaces. And I'm just curious, like, what that was like for you to be able to play. I mean, your character has like limited screen time, but that screen time is really terrifying. So what was that like to play Alma and be this character that is, you know, does some pretty horrific things?
Yeah, I mean, it was really, really intense. I mean, like I said, I felt really safe, but it was also fun, if that can apply.
I get it.
In a sick way. I don't know, because I love everything that goes into the whole process. So it was just really exciting to experience working with Kevin and just everyone, and, you know, the angles, I mean, our wardrobe, our hair and makeup, I mean, the effects, everything. It was just so much fun to experience every single day. And I think that with Alma, I mean, I feel like when I think about it, it really just, it comes down to her just wanting her mom back, you know?
Yeah.
And that's just what's driving her.
Yeah.
The wrong way, but
the wrong way, but yeah. And so, Sarah, I wanted to ask you a similar question, because your character is really put through hell and back quite a bit in this movie, and you're on screen for quite a bit of it. So what was that like, not just preparing, but kind of the filming process for you, and kind of how did you take care of yourself off of camera? Like, what was that like for you in playing a character that goes through so much?
It was a lot. It was intense. I think, you know, like Mena said, it is fun as an actor to explore and play, and I like getting spooked. So like being able to play out the scenarios of like these horrific things was actually like so much fun, and just being terrified and, you know, really diving in. But yeah, honestly, you know, I know what it's like to lose a loved one and have an empty house just filled with all the memories. And I found it to be really cathartic. And yeah, but it is like I have to take care of myself during, you know, like just kind of taking deep breaths and journaling after set and like kind of letting it go. But something funny that happened, I started sleep talking during like filming.
Oh, that's creepy.
Like the visuals from the movie like actually entered my nightmares every night. And I started like, I think one of the things I think I whispered like, "You left me," and then another time I think I said, "We'll be good for a month and then we'll die." So it's like, oh my goodness, this is intense.
That's sequel right there. I mean, there you go. Right, here we go.
I feel like you have to be kind of like a particular breed to like handle this content. It's a lot, you know?
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of people that they don't even want to see the trailer.
Yeah,
no, thank you. Sounds great. I don't need to go there because it'll haunt me.
Yeah.
That's incredible. It can, yeah. I mean, but I saw you having, you had, I think your guy come to set at one point. I saw you having some beautiful, like, like together time. And
No, totally. Yeah, I was super grateful. He was on set that last week of just doing like, the climax of the film. And so that was actually like really awesome to have him there. And
yeah. And I brought a girlfriend of mine with me. So it was a great support system too.
It's like a little bit of a break. Because like you said, like, I mean, I love horror movies. I love to watch them, but it's got to be such a different way to put yourself in the mindset of the character. And I know it's a movie, it's a character, and you're doing multiple days of shooting, but at the same time, like, it makes sense that those images are just like invading your brain because you're in it all the time. Like, you're not out of it for however long you guys were shooting.
Yeah, it's going from set to, go home, prep for the next day, fall asleep, do it all over again. So it's a very immersive experience.
Yeah.
Your vision's pretty effective, Kevin.
That's good.
Good.
Well, and Kevin, I wanted to ask you, because this movie is it's very feminine. It's all about intergenerational trauma between daughters and their mothers, and the relationships between daughters and their mothers, but also between like female friends. And so what was it like tackling a topic that is so rooted in feminine experience?
I mean, I loved it. I was raised by my mom and my sisters. My dad left, when I was 3 years old. So I've had nothing but strong females around me my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I've been married, 21 years. I have a daughter who's 16. I just feel that, I just felt like I could tap into that, and it was exciting and challenging. And I just loved working with Sarah and Mena and everybody. I mean, it was just, I just loved it. And yes, it's a female experience and things like that, but I also just wanted to make a movie, just a good, solid movie. And what I liked about the script was I didn't feel that it was trying to be like, oh, well, they changed it to being female, or they're doing this or playing political football. It was organic. It felt real and natural. If it was a story about guys, it would just been a different movie, And so when I read it, it was like, wow, it just spoke to me, because I've seen, and I always say, like, the sins the mothers revisit on the daughters. Like, see the idea that the Sting song kept playing in my head when I was reading the script and making this movie is history will teach us nothing. The idea that these women, they've gone, the mothers, the daughters are going onto the path like the mothers. And so that really was the theme that kept me going to make this movie. That's why I wanted to make this movie.
Yeah. And I mean, it's so different from Willy's Wonderland in tone and topic and everything. So what was it like for you to go from kind of a more gonzo 80s fun horror kind of gonzo movie to a much more kind of grounded psychological film?
Well, it's interesting because, The Accursed is kind of more like me. I feel like I'm a little more brooding, a little more just I like to think myself as a deep thinker, that I think about things, I think about the themes and things like that. With Willy's is great. Willy's was a salute to the 80s, and I love Willy's. Movies like Evil Dead and things like that, I love. But this was a hark back to more of the 70s of movies. And I remember talking to Sarah about Repulsion, about Roman Polanski's movie, and just the psychological, I've always loved The Shining. It was one of my favorite horror movies. So I just love the mind, and what you see, what you don't see can affect you is more what you can see, and I love actors. I love just the characters and the moments and getting in the dirt with them and kind of going over the script. One thing I loved about Sarah and Mena is that I'd come to them and I'd say, what do you guys think about this? They're like, oh, no, that's what I was thinking. I was like, yeah, we'll cross this dialogue out. It's just a look. It's just a moment, and I just love that, so it was just great to kind of get in the sandbox with them and explore these characters. And when I read the script, it had a lot of more like magical and elements, Harry Potter-esque elements, a little more black magic to it. And it's so funny because I was driving my prop master crazy because she would show up, Madeline, and she like, here it is. Like, I don't have time to shoot all that. We're going to do it this way, because we're, indie film. But I always knew at the end of the day, if we get the drama right, if we get the characters right with what's going on, then we have the movie. It doesn't matter those trimmings. Those are fine. We got to get the characters right. And these ladies just pulled it off like immensely. I'm so happy to work with them. So.
Amazing. And speaking of characters, so Sarah, starting with you, like what was your preparation like to get into Ellie's character? Did you kind of have a backstory for her that you created? Was there something kind of exercises or something you did to get into the mindset of your character?
Yeah, it was really just getting familiar with the material, going it over and over, and just getting into the psyche of what she wants and what she's dealing with. I think it's super universal what she's going through. I mean,
Yeah.
dealing with grief and like the guilt that comes and all the stages and just like overwhelming emotion. You know, losing someone is something that we're all gonna have to go through. So yeah, I love that that was like at the base of the film, like Kevin said, like it's really like a great drama makes great horror.
Yeah.
But I found that like music, listening to music really helps me get into an emotional state.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, that was really helpful for me on this one.
Was there a particular music or artist that you listened to get into Ellie's headspace?
I can't share this because I've made this mistake before.
Okay, fair enough.
When I did share it, it just wasn't as useful. Like I tried to use it again, I was like, oh, it didn't work. And so that's something that I have to just like keep for me.
Fair enough. I totally get that. And then Mena, what about you getting into Alma's character? Like what was that like for you preparation wise?
I mean, a little bit of the same. I try to, study, and really, I like to research as much as possible. I'm all about the collaborative effort and communication, but I try to stay really open. And I feel like, there's so much that, I mean, this is for me personally, there's so much that happens when you get there and you experience the location and you see the set and you see your wardrobe. And, for me, especially seeing my wardrobe, I was like, oh, okay. Like that's where we're going. Like, and so to be honest, a lot of Alma kind of unfolded throughout that.
Cool.
Like a lot of, I don't know, just like even her pacing. I don't know. It's just a lot of that kind of just, it's hard for me to describe. It's kind of just try to stay open, and it's something that just comes to life by the time I'm able to meet everyone and work with everyone and feel everything. I just wanted to add one other thing to like what we were talking about, that thread of just in addition to one of the things that I love so much about this film is how it kind of makes fun of itself at times. To me, I feel like that's really unique and cool. I especially love the moment between our two actresses, Sarah, which was so much fun because on the day I was like, wait, who's who? But when they meet Alma, I love this scene where they're really talking about it. Like, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to stay here? I think you're crazy. I feel like we don't see that enough. It really grounded it. And I also love the scene where we find ourselves in the library trying to research about Alma. And I love this moment about, that thing that like, people do in horror movies where they look up this microfiche or whatever. I just loved those moments because to me, they're very special and unique from a lot of films in this genre.
There definitely is a lot of like the whole like
it's kind of like a self-deprecating moment, right? Like you're making fun of, you know what I mean?
It's just because I think that sometimes when we have a lot of these films, we're like, you might, I don't know. I mean, maybe we've gotten to this day and age where you're like, oh, you expect that. You're like, oh, why are they doing that? Like there's always that moment. And I liked, for me personally, because I love this genre, having these moments of, I don't know, it's just sort of like, yeah, like validating itself in a way, or it just felt like it grounded it. It felt like I could really identify, especially that moment where they're talking about, is she going to take this job or not? To me, that's very real. And you don't always see that. It's sort of like, washed over or over amplified. And I liked that moment. It helped me then, I don't know, kind of not just believe the rest, but feel the rest,
Yeah, no, totally. I love the friend character, and especially because I feel like in horror it's always like, oh, you're crazy, but she was very much like, oh no, like you're crazy for going there, not for thinking something weird is happening.
But also these beautiful moments in the kitchen where she says like, you're not your parents. Like it's the dialogue is very rich and beautiful and very unique, I think, to a lot of films in this space.
Well, yeah, and especially because I think we don't see enough like female friendships that are a little bit deeper, a little bit more complex, and a little bit more like, I mean, I, as a queer woman, was like, are they gonna kiss? But that's just because I project that onto my, that's just me projecting. But Sarah, I wanted to hear more about your relationship, like with that, with her. Also, her name is Sarah, and playing as these two friends, and the banter between the two of you is great, and you feel like friends. So, what was that like working with her?
She was awesome to work with. She's a hoot. She was so funny. I thought she was like perfect for this character. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, like Beth was, she was totally the voice of reason, and she was super supportive. Like she was a friend that you wanted for this character. So that was great.
She definitely gave you a kick in the ass when she was like, are you sure this isn't about your mom? Which is always like the hard, like she always says the things you don't want to say to your friends, but the actual good friends will say it to you. Be like, it's tough love, but like it's coming from a place of care. And I always love those friends. So it's nice to see that representation with that. But then Mena, I wanted to ask you, like, how is this role different from anything else you've done before? And you have, I mean, you've been working for a long time. And so what was it, you know, how did this feel different for you than any other movie you've been in?
Well, I don't want to give anything away, but
Yeah.
I think people will be able to see that. I mean, to me, I feel like I kind of go to the next level with a lot of stuff. Like, I mean, I remember having moments where I was like, Kevin, what are we gonna do? Oh my God. I was like, okay, let's just see what happens. So
Go for it.
kind of like half waiting because it's really shocking. It's a lot. I mean, and just like physically, but that's fun for me. I remember when I worked on like American Horror Story and I had this whole like prosthesis like on my face. Like I love that. I got to go to, oh God, you guys have to help me out. Didn't we go to it was the what was the school of where we had our casting? It was for the effects here.
Cinema makeup school.
Makeup school.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is there a specific name? Sorry.
Yeah, cinema makeup school.
Cinema makeup school. So we got to go in there and have cast and like, you know, all of this. So it was so much fun. I got to see like everything they were doing with the demon. And so I don't know, personally, like I love to play like that. It was a lot of fun, but I just think that my character, it's like a whole new level of like intensity and like anger and abuse. It was pretty wild. Very tightly contained, and then she kind of just explodes.
Yes.
I love Mena. I'll tell you, when I was working and you would hear those shoes clump come down, and she'd be on the side and she'd just get into it. And I'm like, oh yeah, we're making a movie, man. This is just awesome. I was so happy, you know, and you know, Mena, you just never, you just went for it, you know. We had a talk, you know, she was,
I don't know what that says about me. You know, they're like, here's a knife. And I'm like, okay.
It was great because we talked about, you know, you said, well, is there anybody that, you know, film wise or, you know, novel wise, like characters. And I brought up Nurse Ratched, and I just felt like that was kind of the vibe of, but Alma, because, you know, the villains always think they're doing the right thing. They always think that, you know, but she had she just blinders. She was just this straight. Right. And I always felt like Alma's the kind of character, like you're at a party and everyone's mingling, and then there's like that one person that tries to come into that circle, and it's like, uh-oh, and then the circle kind of disperses, you know. And but that was so
a little
cool
bit of me in my own life anyway.
you embraced it, and you just went for it, and you told me, you're like, I'm gonna go for it. I'm like, that, please do, you know. And I just loved it. It's to me the magic of making movies, you know. That's not you. You're an actor. You're playing somebody, you know. And yes, you take your things in your life, but at the end of the day, it's like we're in the sandbox together, and we all connected, all of us, on the vision of what we're trying to do, you know. And that was just a beautiful thing on making this movie. I don't think we had one creative disagreement. We all saw it the way, you know, and that's rare, right? Like I just felt like.
But that's a big testament to you and how you work, you know, and the environment that you kept, because I know for me personally, I felt really safe and connected, and, you know, and that's, I think when you feel that way, you can really shine, you know, so thank you.
Thank you. And I believe in that. And like with Sarah, you know, there were times where she's like, can I go first or take a moment here? What it's like, absolutely. Like the floor is yours. Like you have to go to a place that, you know, we're here behind the camera doing it. And it's like next shot, this, that you have to go to a place. So I try to make it as safe and comfortable as possible. Because that's, to me, I don't believe in a set of, you know, anger and power, all that stuff. We're a team. Movie making, especially this level, but to me, any level, movie making is a team. And if you don't have a great team, if I don't have a great composer, great actress, the movie's done. It's over. It doesn't matter. Every part is crucial on making a good film, you know? So
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you guys.
It was a love fest. It was.
It sounds like a love
It
fest.
had to be. It had to be
my
with
favorite
this
thing
material. It's so dark. It has to be a love fest.
Yeah,
That's
You know?
my favorite.
I had a moment before I flew in, and I was like, oh, what is like the vibe on set gonna be? Because it's dark and it's scary, and was it gonna feel kind of off? And then as soon as I got there, I was like, okay, this is gonna be like, it was super light, like you said, super safe. I'm super appreciative of Kevin and like setting the tone because it trickles down, right? So like the whole crew, everyone was in good spirits and just felt super warm. And I agree, like I do not want to have a kind of hostile work environment. That's not where you get your best work. A loving, safe environment, people feel comfortable to explore and create. And yeah, so I just feel super blessed to have had this group of people.
I love when I hear like the most fucked up, sorry for lack of a better word, movies have the best, most like happiest sets. It's my favorite thing. It's like, oh yeah, we were laughing the whole time. I'm like, that's great. It's like everyone's having fun. That's good to hear. And I love to hear that. But then speaking of disturbing, I know we won't get into spoilers, but Kevin, there's a lot of imagery in this that was like quite shocking, especially towards the end. And so I was curious about what it was like to develop some of the images and some of the creature in this and what that process was like for you. And if those moments were written in the script when you first saw it, was it always it had these like shocking images in it?
Well, when I got the script, it was the voice of the mother in it a lot, but you never really saw her. And
Okay.
I always felt like we're making a motion picture. We need to be visual. We need to show it. So that was one of the things that I felt we really need to hone in on. And in terms of the demon, I knew the whole idea of a demon, and it was like we've seen demons in many movies. But to me, what's interesting about it, the demon, it's not what he does, but what he does, what affects the people around him, right? The world. So the idea is I wanted the demon to bring the world of hell, the dark world into the cabin world, the real world into the movie. So that was why, like, there's a thing when the demon comes, I always call it like the demon POV, but we image shake, to make it like he's bringing his essence and his chi, let's say, there, which is pretty scary, So I was very concentrating on trying to get that right. But the whole idea, like I said, is doesn't matter about the demon or whatever if these actors and the themes and these things that if we can't convey this, it doesn't matter about the demon. So I was just really concentrating on making sure, like, I love the Alma and the Mary Lynn thing at the end, that was a big deal to me. And just the whole thing with the demon and how he kind of hypnotizes and kind of, transfixes the world around him. And so the creature, it was great. We worked with that, and the cinema makeup school did that as well. And Troy James was the demon, and he was fantastic. But again, it was all about the subject matter of getting to that point, So really just working on, because I wanted to make a movie that was very kind of unsettling from the beginning. There's just something. I love movies that have atmosphere and the vibe and the tone. I'm not so big in like jump scare moments, opening the cat jumps out. Like those to me always felt cheap. I feel like really movies that at least got to me are movies, again, like Rosemary's Baby and The Omen and The Changeling, where it's just the tone is just unsettling. And so I was always concentrating on, let's get that tone right. And that's what I love, like Meg Foster, when she's in the bed. I mean, she's just lying there, but her ambiance, you can just feel it. The air is thick when she's
Yeah.
there with Ambrose, you know?
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to get, so the same thing with the demon and everything. I just wanted it. And I wanted the thing is to build to the climax, but make sure that the characters were emotionally there as well. So I really just concentrated on that. And I felt that once we got that, the movie, we were going to find its rhythm and would be okay. So.
Yeah. And then in in working with Kevin, especially in scoring these more intense parts, what was that kind of like, what was your process like in determining kind of the sound and what instruments to use, especially in these bigger reveal moments or moments that are more emotionally like intense with monsters or disturbing images?
Well, Kevin is such a great director and such a great leader, as you can tell from the way everybody reacts to him, because Kevin enables you to be your best self. He's not somebody who has an opinion to have an opinion. He's somebody who wants the best product and really gives you the tools to be your best self and create the best, whatever is the best. So we ended up experimenting a lot with different things. One of the instruments that I actually really loved that ended up kind of getting threaded through the whole movie was actually just an out of tune viola I had sitting next to me.
Oh, wow.
You'll hear throughout the movie a lot of just, you know, but with all those textures, like those drones that I was telling you about, all those unique drone instruments and things, when you have that laying a music bed, and then you have, you know, these like kind of sharp, stabby, sort of guttural, you know, string, just kind of out of tune movements over the top, it helped really create the world of the Accursed. And, you know, when you're trying to like when you go into a movie or any kind of project that you're scoring, oftentimes everybody has an idea what they want it to sound like. They have references, they have things like that, whatever. We didn't have references on this movie, which was so awesome. It was beyond awesome. And then what happens is, you know, obviously music is only as good as the movie. So my job is, I have no credit in the creation of the music. What it is I am like a psychic medium. No, really like a conduit, right? And I take in like Mena's performance, Sarah's performance, the what's video, and when you're just sort of moving your hands around or you're finding things, all of a sudden it just locks, and you're like, there it is. You know what I mean? And you feel it. When you feel the synergy between the music and the picture, you know you're there. You know, so that was what Kevin and I did together. Is we just search for that synergy together, and I feel like we found it, you know.
It's amazing. And was there a favorite scene or like a scene that you were really proud of scoring and like you really hit something that you thought was special?
I would say, well, you know, I really love the scene where Mena opens the book and starts reading. That's actually something for me. You know, the music right there changes time signatures a couple times because I had to figure out how to fit it in there. Hopefully nobody notices, but it had like this kind of unique time signature that went through. But I felt like it actually brought something. It's like that dun, 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 dun. Just these like slow, spaced out, you know, repetitive notes, and then the melody that goes over the top with her chanting the incantation. To me, just felt really good. You know what I mean? Like it felt right, you know.
Amazing. And then
Well,
Kevin, oh, sorry.
I want to say one thing. You know, was great cutting this movie because, like Emoi said, I didn't temp it, and a lot of times you temp things to hide things or to like show the producers, hey, we got a movie here, check it out. You know what? I didn't do that. I knew we had a movie here. The performances were so awesome. I was like, I'm gonna just focus on the narrative. I'm gonna focus on getting this right, and then we're going to score it. And that was such a beautiful thing because he did kind of have an empty canvas. We talked a lot about a lot of things, but at the end of the day, I didn't say, well, here's the song that I want you to kind of match to like this, or the producers are hooked onto this song. So can you give me something like that? It was completely a blank slate, and it was a beautiful thing to work with because it was like old school filmmaking. I think, you know, back in the day, right, you'd cut on moviolas or flatbeds, and it's like, to put a score and a temp score and stuff. I mean, that takes time and work. Right? Now with digital, it's like, oh, you just grab something on Spotify, right? Just throw it on and be like, okay. So it was kind of going back to the old school ways, just like making, you know, Sarah Ellie on the phone, you know, and things like that, like an old school vintage vibe. The way we shot the movie, that's the way we also posted the movie, right? So
Cool.
I just want to add that. It was so much fun to do it that way.
That's amazing. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about horror in general with everyone, since it seems like everyone is a big horror fan. But Sarah, starting with you, I wanted to hear, what was the first horror movie you ever remember seeing?
The Sixth Sense, when I was like 6 years old. It was by accident. My mom rented 2 DVDs and we accidentally put in the wrong one. And it was just this candle burning for like 10, I don't know why we kept watching, but we watched the whole thing. And like, I remember I had to jump onto my bed for about a year after that because it got me good. It got me good.
No. And then, what about you? Do you remember the first horror movie you ever saw?
First of all, I feel really old because I remember seeing The Sixth Sense when I was like probably a teenager. I was talking about this the other day. I know that there's a lot because I'm sure I saw something very young. I think, but the one that I remember most was, and it's ironic because I worked with him later in life, is a film called Dolls.
Oh my God, I love Dolls!
You recorded, yeah. And this movie ruined my life when I was a kid because I was probably like 7 or 8 or something when I saw it. No, don't recommend that. And my great aunt, she lived up in like West Virginia in this like, big like mountain cabin. And she had these dolls. She had these dolls, like dozens of them, or like hundreds of them. They were like in cases, okay, like armoires. And she would put me up in that room to sleep. And I had seen that movie and I stayed up all night. I was like, they're gonna come alive and they're gonna kill me. It was the worst. It was the worst. Yeah. I hated that. It was just like the perfect time that we were like going to visit her after I saw that movie.
Of course.
And like, I hate dolls. Ever since then, I don't like any of these little dolls.
I have a family member who also has a house full of dolls in cases, and I don't get it.
Very creepy about this.
It's very creepy. They're all watching you with their creepy little eyes. Anyway.
So yeah, dolls.
Yeah. And then, Emoi, what was your first horror movie that you ever saw?
I think it was Return of the Living Dead, actually.
Wow.
I recall actually this memory very distinctly of my mom driving my brother and I to the movie theater, and this was the first time seeing it. I saw it in the theater, and I was very, very young. I was like 5 years old, and anyway, they ended up, I remember there was we got out of the movie theater and there was a skull on the car next to us. And I was completely freaked out by the movie. And there was a skull, and Don Henley's Boys of Summer was on the radio. I literally can remember this like it was yesterday. That's how traumatized I was.
Wow.
But also obsessed after that. I was like, wow, I just saw greatness. Like that was greatness. And I'm not going to be able to sleep for a while, but that was greatness. And I think that's what triggered my obsession, to be honest with you.
That movie is way more upsetting than I ever thought, especially when she talks about they're in pain. And
I know.
It's just harrowing.
Yeah. The pain of being dead.
Yes.
Yeah, it's horrible.
I
can feel myself rotting. I mean, it's terrible.
And then Kevin, what about you? What was your first horror movie?
So, man, I was around Sarah's age, and I turned on the TV. My mom wasn't home, and I stumbled upon a made-for-TV movie called Burnt Offerings, and that movie scarred me for life. And I remember Oliver Reed is in the pool, and he found the glasses. He puts the goggles on. He's trying to choke his son, and it had Karen Black in it, and but that movie just I was just sheer terror, but then stimulated by it at the same time, right? Like, oh my God, I kept thinking about it. And what's really cool was Charlie, our stunt coordinator on the Accursed. We were shooting the Mena scene when she goes down the stairs with Sarah DeMont, and he said, Kev, have you ever seen the movie Burnt Offerings? I was like, oh my God. Okay, stop, 5 minutes, lunch, everybody. And we talked. And if you remember, and he was like, what's going on? I'm like, no, 5 minutes. And the crew's coming over, and everybody was jotting on their phone in this movie because it's a made for TV movie. But he's like, this reminds me of it. And I was like, oh my God. You're like, so I was so happy, like, okay, we're on the right track on making this film, So yeah, Burnt Offerings, and then finding out it was a made-for-TV movie and things like that. But that movie just really, and I think I was like 6 years old when I saw it.
I watched Jaws at the age of 4 and was ruined forever. So yeah, again, you love it and you hate it at the same time, and that's where we are now. We all love horror movies.
I took my boys to see Jaws on IMAX 3 weeks ago or so.
So how was that?
That was incredible. The 4K restoration is just beautiful. What an amazing movie. Yeah.
Well, thank you to all of you for taking the time to chat with me today about the Accursed and horror movies. Thank you to Kevin, to Sarah, to Mena, and to Emoi, and everyone. The Accursed comes to theaters and on demand on October 14th. So get ready.